Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle. I will not be joined by Hall or Reed for this episode, but I have two special co-hosts coming to help me out a little bit on this episode. One being here already, and Mr. Goody. How you doing, brother? Thank you for joining me.
Doing well, sir. Doing well. Thank you for having me, as always.
Absolutely, brother. And the title of today's episode is We Want Dallas. Obviously, ahead of the matchup tomorrow, going against the Dallas Cowboys at 4:30, which is obviously why Jerry Jones built that new stadium and has what he has with the sunlight, which is just egregious to say the least. But we're not going to make any excuses for it. But there has been some latest developing news for Washington. As of a couple minutes ago, it looks like Washington has activated Sam Cosmi and Jonathan Jones for this game. So I want to ask you, Goody, before we get into the bad, the good, let's start with the good. What do you expect from Sam Cosmi and Jonathan Jones being activated?
So I expect
Does it change your outlook at all?
It gives me a little bit more juice, right? Because obviously with the injuries in the wide receiver room that we have, is pretty apparent that a lot of guys are gonna have to step up. By getting those two guys back, I feel like you add that veteran to the game. Knowing how this is a rivalry game and this game could go either way. But getting Cosmi back, I'm confident that the coaches believe he's ready to go. First of all, and then having Jonathan Jones back in that secondary, which we picked him up in the offseason, not for any reason, right? He definitely brings something to the table in terms of a little bit more experience. So having those two guys back ready to go, I think they can really help out the team in any of those situations where things are kind of going a little haywire. You have a steady force there coming back.
You're absolutely right about that. It's a good way to kind of put it. Because we're going to get into Terry and Deebo here in a little bit, but in particular talking about Dallas. So obviously Dallas is it's crazy how the differential there is between offense and defense. Offensively, they're one of the best units in the NFL at the moment, right? I think anybody can agree with that. But defensively, you can make the argument they're one of the worst. You're allowed to do a lot on them. They're 32nd in the league in passing yards per game, giving up 269 yards on average in the passing game. On defense, they're 29th on average, giving up 142 yards a game. And then the third down conversion percentage is 53%, last in the league right now. So the Cowboys defense is the polar opposite of what their offense is putting out right now. That being said, adding Sam Cosmi into the mix, because being without, let's be honest, three of the wide receivers, you could say your starting unit, your top three guys, you're going to be put in it's a good situation for Cliff Kingsbury in the sense that you can go in run heavy, but you know that the defense is going to be expecting that. So you can almost change up your offense in the way that you could come out run heavy, but anytime you go to throw the football, anytime that you have the play action, most likely it's going to be working for you because the defense is so keen on you being able to run the football in this game. And if that's the kind of mindset you're implementing, adding Sam Cosmi into the mix, that kind of gritty, tough, aggressive guard, it's only going to make this unit all that much better. And the offensive line, you could say, has had their ups and downs, but for the most part, they've probably been the most consistent unit on the entire team thus far. And adding Sam Cosmi into the mix only upgrades them even more. And I think it ultimately helps somebody like Josh Connerly out a heck of a whole lot. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a good point. Getting the consistency that we've gotten from the line this season, even with it being kind of rotating. We came in the season knowing Sam wouldn't be ready, but the unit that we have put together has been performing well. You have Chris Paul in there, late round pick. A lot of people are kind of really starting to recognize what he's able to do, what he's been bringing to the table. Obviously, the coaching staff saw that first, so kudos to them. But yeah, getting Sam Cosmi back in that lineup, like you said, it can help Josh Connolly out a lot. Just having that veteran next to him, somebody that really draws a lot of attention, so he can probably kind of step aside and shine and get better without getting exposed. Which I don't think he's been too exposed as a rookie, switching position, coming in starting for us. So not saying anything like that, but adding Sam to that definitely brings a little bit more grit to the line, and that's going to be effective in doing what we want to do on offense, and also just kind of helping protect Jaden, which is the most important thing.
Oh, absolutely. And I, I I don't think that Connerly has done all that bad. I know that people could point to statistics and the few reps and I'm not going to say few. There's been some reps where he gives up things, of course. But any rookie coming into the NFL typically has these kind of issues. Joe Alt, in particular, when he came into the league, he came out of Notre Dame at a left tackle, got moved to right tackle, and he had those same sort of issues at first. You saw him kind of simmer down and really get to himself later on in the season. That's what Connerly ultimately is going to be doing well at. And we've heard everybody talk about how athletic of a guy he is, getting to the outside. There's perimeter blocking where you're kind of moving the guys around, being able to get to the perimeter of a defense or run it down their throat. He's very good at that, and he's going to continue to be good at that along with this offensive line. And so adding Cosme into the mix here, I think it really does help out the entire offensive line because we know what Sam is, just an aggressive mindset that he has. But he's also a very athletic dude. Coming out of Texas, he was not a humongous big belly kind of guy. He was very fit for being 300 pounds, and that's somebody that definitely has the mobility to be able to help out this offense, especially in that pool game, which I wholeheartedly expect to be up and running and humming for this football game. But let's get into kind of the negatives a little bit, Goody. Before we do, just want to say if you guys have any questions in the chat, if you want to make any comments about this game, what's your outlook? Are you feeling glum? Are you optimistic about Dallas? Please let us know. I'd love to hear your comments, and I'll announce them here on the show. But hearing that Noah Brown's been put on IR, so for the next 4 weeks at least, he's out. They then lose Terry, which Dan Quick kind of thought that Terry was going to be practicing this week. He wasn't there on, I think it was Wednesday, and then he says, oh, he's out. And then we hear today that Deebo Samuel is out for tomorrow against Dallas. So, Goody, given that, what was your immediate reaction to that news?
I was like, this can't get much worse at this point. It's unfortunate because obviously going into the season, you have these plans in play. You don't anticipate anybody getting hurt, but we all know this could happen anytime playing a physical game. But seeing them kind of go down like flies, it does raise some concern. I do have a lot of confidence in our backups who have been getting a lot of play throughout the season as is. So taking more of a workload wouldn't be too much on them. I think they're being able to progress through without being exposed per se. But for a game like this, being down Noah, being down Terry, being down Deebo now, it's really time to see what this kind of the lifeline of this team is, like the blood of this team, because this is really what the future is, right? When you draft and you put these guys in position at a young age, you're anticipating them to pan out for you for the long run. So I'm excited. I'm excited for them to bring it. I feel like the way that this team is built, like they always say, it's a brotherhood. So everybody's rooting for one another. So as if they're coming in to take somebody else's spot isn't the case. I'm sure they'll be rooting for them.
Yeah, you're right on the mark there because I'll make the argument that this is exactly why Jalen Lane and Luke McCaffrey were drafted to this football team for these sort of moments to be that plug and play on the same page, ready to hit the ground running type of guys. And they've done a good job of mixing them in throughout the early part of this season, obviously even last year with Luke. But Luke has really come alive, caught 2 passes in the past 2 games for touchdowns. And the one last week, you can almost hint to say, obviously Deebo was the reason why the defense cheated up on that wide receiver screen, and Luke was able to go over top and be able to be wide open for that touchdown. But the big grab against the Chargers was absolutely amazing, and just showing that hitting you deep downfield, something that Anthony Armstrong knows very well about. He is very good in that capacity. This is the sort of situation he was made for, to be that kind of undercover guy that can get you in your where you don't want to be hit. But in regards to Jalen Lane, they've massaged him in throughout this season. This is the perfect kind of opportunity for Jalen Lane to really showcase what he can do. I know some fans have made comments about his hands, and I'll be honest with you, I don't have any issues with him at this point, but it's going to be a big test for that young man. They also signed Treylon Burks this week, former first-round pick of the Tennessee Titans. I was a big fan of Treylon coming out of Arkansas. Big-bodied wide receiver, not a big separator, but is good hands and is able to create a matchup on smaller type of cornerbacks. But it's going to be, he's obviously, I don't think he's going to be in the mix for this. Maybe we'll see some Robbie Chosen come down the pipeline. But the next question I have for you, Goody, in regards to the defense, is the defense that bad, and how would you fix it?
Yeah, so this one, this is one that's kind of this is a tricky one because when you kind of look at it game to game, we're kind of putting ourselves in position to succeed offensively. Like that's noticeable. Besides the a few mental errors that we've had, plays here and there that just didn't go our way, and then you kind of see the defense still has the same mentality of bend don't break, get down to the red zone and really hold up the fort. But it's just the frequency of an offense to get explosive against our defense is becoming more noticeable, whereas there's never really a longevity of per se shutdown or lockdown. We're kind of always being attacked, whereas I feel like last year the idea was to attack the offense as a defense versus us this year where it feels like we're just constantly being attacked. To make it better, I would say, look at what you did last year. Look at what you did last year. I'm sure they tried to install a bunch of new stuff, knowing that Marshawn was going to be healthy, which he has been healthy, so you can't really complain too much about that. Could be worse. He could be hurt, and then that would be a different story. But I feel like this is the easy early part of the year where you can afford these errors, these mistakes, until you kind of lock in and get it when you have to be hot to finish out the season. So to fix it, I would say keep it simple. Look at what you did last year. Defense kind of played very well last year. But, yeah, I wouldn't overthink it. I wouldn't overthink it if I was them.
I'm with you. I do have a different take. I understand the keeping it simple thing. It almost is in the way what I'm about to put out there. But especially on passing downs, ones that are very known, they've obviously done a good job up until this point. On defense, they're 11th overall in the NFL on third downs. So they do a good job of forcing teams on fourth down to either go for it, which they typically are very good at being able to hold that. But I will say this. Obviously, everyone is picking on Bobby. They're going to pick on Mikey. And Mikey's not having the best year, which goes to your point about what did they do last year, right? That kind of fixed the defense. Moving Mikey to outside was the right recipe for them last year. But obviously having Trey Amos on the outside alongside with Marshawn Lattimore it forces you into not a bad situation, but it just kind of forces you into an uncomfortable situation to say, do you really, for the sake of Mikey, move somebody who actually is playing well in coverage off the ball? But I will say this in regards to Bobby. On known passing downs, I'd be flipping to a 3-4. I'd be flipping to three defensive linemen, one nose tackle and two ends, and I'd be moving Frankie and Bobby to the outside linebackers up on the line of scrimmage. I would then have Jordan McGee as the lone middle linebacker there. And then what I would do is I would move, for that sort of formation, I would move Lattimore to safety, have him playing next to Jordan McGee as that kind of linebacker type, and then put Mikey outside wide. And then I would have Jonathan Jones in the nickel, so to speak. If not him, I'd put in Noah Igbenogany, just to put guys at their strengths. Because right now, I could guarantee Bobby Wagner is very good at recognition, instinctual plays, reading what's going to happen, but also very good at the line of scrimmage. One of the best.
Yeah.
I think he leads the NFL in tackles right now, if I'm not mistaken. He's phenomenal around that area, but as soon as you start to get to move him, I could have told you that before the last season, that's where people were going to pick on him. You saw it in Seattle 2 seasons ago. So it's nothing that they aren't used to, but like you said, last year they were able to get off the field and help this offense. I just think right now, if you're going to do anything drastic. I'm not going to say it's drastic, but you're putting Frankie and Bobby on the outside there to get after the quarterback, and if not, drop into coverage based on what you have. But simulating pressure has been big for this defense so far, being able to get off the field on third down. And I think putting that defensive formation together will actually benefit everybody involved. And I don't think it's
So I feel like what you're saying, and I understand that entirely, but something that really stood out to me based off of the alignment of that formation that you would, kind of use as a problem solve. The most surprising thing I would say since Bobby Wagner has been in Washington is just his ability to actually get to the quarterback.
yeah,
Uh, it was very, very surprising. You would think you would see it happen here and there, but you see it very often.
yep,
So for having him, if you know his weakness is obviously in coverage, but still having him up in the line on the field at the very least, but in a different kind of position where he's not being exploited over the middle, that could be something that could really add some more juice to this defense for sure.
absolutely. That's what my kind of mindset is. Because, Dan Quinn has been preaching this since he stepped foot into Landover or into Virginia. And that was putting guys at their strengths, doing what they do well, and being able to expand on that and do most that they possibly can with that player. And I think anybody with two eyes or one eye can tell you where Bobby kind of lacks at, right? And kind of forcing him out of that kind of situation. But getting him in third downs is going to be the big issue here. Dallas coming into this game, Goody, they're third in points per game, averaging 29.7 points per game, passing their second overall with 270 yards per game. And Washington's defense right now is 23rd in the league in passing yards allowed. So tomorrow is going to be a big step up for that DB group. The tackling has to be sure. They have to do a good job at it. And I know Joe Witt was going through different drills this week with the defense to try to create more turnovers. But honestly, I have to ask you this, Goody. Do you think those type of drills is really what this defense needs in order to produce turnovers?
To get turnovers in our backfield, our defense, I mean, there's really no method to it, right? You kind of have to, whether the scheme allows for you to have those situations or that potential to force turnovers, or if your job is to create that for yourself. This defense, it just needs to click. It just needs to click. The turnovers, you can see the potential. There's been a couple that have been pulled back. What that could do in terms of momentum, I'm not exactly sure because you don't really know until it happens. But if a couple of those don't come back, your defense is feeling more productive game in and game out. They start to get that hunger for it a little bit more. So I feel like some situations where the defense is playing in an aggressive way where they are getting themselves in position for turnovers, to make it more consistent, I think it's very hard to put your finger on that. It's very hard for me to put my finger on that, how to make it more consistent. I think it would have to start with the pass rush. Week one, the defensive line were demons, They've been pretty consistent, but you don't see that high level energy where you're kind of suffocating quarterbacks like we did early in the season. So I would say the defensive line getting back to attacking the quarterback starting up front, that's going to be the ultimate kind of boost in getting turnovers on defense.
Yeah, specifically talking as a defensive coach right now, I coach DBs and I help with the overall defense and just what is being implemented. And what I can say is that when you have a grasp on what the offense wants to do in terms of that kind of instinctual, they like to target this guy on this down, they like to go to this play at this point. You know that they kind of like to pass the football at this certain point, right? When you kind of get yourself in the attacking mode instead of being on your heels, which is essentially what Washington has been kind of fighting with throughout this season on defense, is in some of the games like against the Raiders, against the Giants, like you brought up, and the Chargers, you could even say to a point, they did a good job of not being on their heels in a very attacking kind of style and being able to get after the quarterback, suffocating them, limiting their running game, and kind of forcing them to do something, right? If everything is happening easy for you, you're not going to push the point of putting a ball in a bad situation, which is what happens when an offense is struggling to move the football. They're struggling to find their footing. They're going to try to force something, which is then going to really benefit you. So doing the drills, in my kind of point, it's good overall for players, but being a grown man, you should already have that. Like, you don't make it to the NFL if you don't already have that kind of trait in you to be able to catch a football. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's much more so for younger kind of guys. They have to get more so on the same page because it seems like everybody is confused on certain plays. And when they're confused, they're out of position. If you're all in the right position, suffocating a defense as from a coverage standpoint, allowing your defensive line to get up to the quarterback, that's when mistakes will happen. That's when you could get the football. That's when you could turn it over. So as much as I love the idea of the drills being implemented, I have to say that I do think it's futile in the end because they just need to get on the same page in coverage and get ahead of the ball in this chess game against the offense. Stop being the one that's being moved on and move on them. Have that check above them. Have that ability to outsmart that offensive coordinator to know what they're going to do, if that makes any sense.
No, that does make sense. That does make sense. I think we just have to, again, like you said, be more aggressive, more on the attack and less on the defense. And that's how you stir it up. That's how you stir things up.
You're absolutely right. Now, Lil C. White says on YouTube, Sam Cosmi will play versus Dallas, was just activated. Yes, he was, sir. Thank you, White. We just talked about that to begin the live stream and what that kind of does for our offense. And it's great to see because it at least gives us some exciting news, White, because losing Terry and Deebo is definitely something that not everybody is ecstatic about. So it gives us a lift in spirits, so to speak. David Clark says, we have to get our running back to run far more on the edge, whether it's tight ends blocking or moving men off the line to pull this blocking, allowing him to get to space. Yeah, I think that's a lot of what the offense already does. I don't know what you would say to that, Goody. But, I think a lot of that's what our offense is predicated upon. And we've kind of had an issue with being able to run in between the tackles. Like, C-Rod in particular is very, very good at that. Like, he's able to get through the line of scrimmage, especially in between the tackles, and pop off some big runs. Where Ja'Cory Krosky, where Bill goes, is much more to the outside. It explodes. It opens things up. And that's where the Bears kind of limited us a lot on Monday night, is being able to get out to that outside on Bill and limit him overall. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I think, honestly, the more balance you have, the better you're going to be on offense because you're going to be more unpredictable to the defense.
Right.
So instead of knowing that's what he's best at and that's how we have the most success with Bill running, I would still continue to have that inside game because with, like you said, Chris Rodriguez being able to run through the tackles, even Ja'Cory Krosky can run through the tackles very well and fall forward, being not the biggest back, but having that fall forward effect,
Yep.
Which is huge, down in and down out. So if you continue doing that and you see him breaking runs up the middle, jabs 5 yards, 7 yards, 8 yards, and he could eventually break ones through the middle. Now you can't have the defense overwhelmingly trying to set the edge on you when he does his superpower and he bounces it and he see you later. So I think having that balance is very important because if you get one-sided, then they can obviously play against that. Also, with having Jaden as your quarterback, you don't the less the edge is set, the better in any situation having a quarterback like Jaden because he can do so much more as the play unfolds. If the edge is set, that kind of limits where he can go and how he can maneuver. So you got to keep punching it up the middle. Bring it to them. Hopefully, the first play of this game, you have Sam Cosmi throwing his helmet into somebody right up the gut. I like that style. Got to keep the balance.
Yeah, and we do have to put the caveat in there that most likely Cosmi is not coming in like his usual self. He will have to get back into the rhythm of things, but this is why it's taken about 2 weeks for him to get up and running. They want to make sure, because this is the thing about with Terry, is I've seen people hypothetically ask, did Terry have a setback? What's taking him so long? And Dan Quinn did a fantastic job of answering this, and you have to give him credit for doing so. He said it's not much more so about the jogging. It's not much more so about just running a route. It's about hitting your top speed, and not only hitting your top speed, but also being able to break off that top speed, which is what he's telling you is Terry's numbers, because they wear those like they're like bras almost, but they measure their
Yeah.
speed, heart rate, everything, acceleration. They measure all of that. That Terry's not hitting his usual top numbers. And when he is stopping on a quick, like let's say a comeback where you're running full speed, you do a quick stop to the outside, his numbers, speed and acceleration wise, is not what it was before. And so they're not thrusting him out there knowing that he's not 100% yet. And that's essentially what Dan Quinn is elaborating and expending on, is that it's not a setback, but he's just not there yet. And yet, look, this is a soft tissue injury. These kind of things linger. I could have told you that, but this is why the original the thought process was he was going to be out 2 months. Be patient. Be patient. Terry will be back, but credit to them for doing a great job of being able to just illustrate why he hasn't been returning yet. David Clark says, doesn't matter whether it's zone or man to man, our backfield players is not good enough to stop the likes of Dallas. No number one and no number two outside wide receivers. Likes of Dallas's number 1 and 2 wide receivers. Look, Dallas is going to throw the ball on you. We know Dak is playing phenomenal football right now. But Goody and I both know that the way that you get after Dak is you get him uncomfortable. You have to get into his face. You have to get him to move. And when you do get him to move, you have to bring him down. Get hands in his face and be able to force some issues. Because we've seen Dak for so many years just sit back and dissect his defense, man. And that's not something that I'm sure Dan Quinn and Joe Witt know him better than anybody here watching or listening. So they know dang well what to do, what not to do against Dak. And you just hope that we don't have to send extra guys in order to do that. Because it seems like to this point, David, that Washington's defensive line really dominates when it's an injury-plagued, beat-up kind of offensive line. They really haven't controlled the trenches defensively against an offensive line that's somewhat healthy, if that makes sense. That's what happened last week versus Chicago, if we're being honest. Now, let's go to our fan questions, Goody. This one was submitted by the Colonel. This was yesterday. His question is, Goody, please walk us through who Treylon Burks is and what he adds to the team. Is he someone who could flourish in Cliff Kingsbury's system where he faltered in Tennessee with the Titans?
Treylon Burks, honestly, his career was a little unfortunate with injuries. He never got a chance to really get a consistent go due to injuries, which, he's not really at fault for either. But the situation in Tennessee probably didn't help very well either.
No, not at all.
A lot of people in Tennessee kind of, it's as if like Derrick Henry was like the last bit of juice that they had. But, that could have played into it as well. We can see across the league, anytime a player is having a down year or just not being themselves, they go to a new place and they start to shine. We see that day in, year in, year out, week to week, all the time in the NFL. So for him to be there for his entire career so far, those 4 years, and just coming to DC, where the word around the league is the vibe is pretty right in that house, right? So having the teammates there, having the coaching staff, the people that believe in him there, could just give him that new jolt of life, right? What he's able to do on the field, I think he gives us a body type that we don't necessarily have, especially with Noah Brown kind of being, put on injured reserve.
Slam dunk.
Being on injured reserve and it's not looking bright for the future for there. So to have somebody that kind of come in with that same kind of play style, it's exciting. He's still got youth. He's got untapped talent. I trust this team and get him up to speed. And, there's no guarantees, but all we can do is give it a shot, see what the kid's got.
You're absolutely right in terms of what he adds to the offense, because we do have much more. So, besides Deebo and Noah, we really don't have that big body type wide receiver, which is what Treylon Burks kind of offers you. He's very much a possession wide receiver. If you can imagine kind of almost like an Anquan Boldin-esque type of guy. I'm not saying in production or he's exactly like Anquan Boldin, but in the sense that Anquan Boldin wasn't necessarily a speed guy, right? He was just very much a big-bodied, comfortable catcher that quarterbacks were able to hit very often and be able to help you out downfield as well. And that's what Treylon Burks kind of helps you with. He's not the quickest guy in the world, but he is somebody that you can target downfield because of his body type. He is a matchup versus smaller corners, and that you feel comfortable with that kind of deep ball. I asked this question the other day: is how healthy is he? Is he in shape? And how good is his blocking right now? Because we talked about Goody, Washington's offense likes to attack the perimeter, the outside of these defenses, to be able to run the ball on them. If your wide receivers block for you well, that's the difference between a 5-yard gain and a touchdown, is how well the wide receivers are blocking for you. And that's something that Treylon Burks, I hope, could come in and do right away at. Obviously, Treylon Burks has his shortcomings. Not the fastest guy in the world. He's not going to separate like crazy on people. But he's a glorified tight end, if that makes any sense. And I guess it just, with Tennessee, they just don't have the best history with wide receivers. I've heard people say before that Tennessee is where wide receivers go to finish their career, which is unfortunate. Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins is still playing, but that's few and far between. Obviously, A.J. Brown was a little bit productive for them, but I'm not going to say A.J. Brown type, but they like that big body wide receiver, and that's why they like Treylon Burks. It's just injuries have kind of hampered him, and the overall state of the team being constant, changing in and out ever since Jeff Fisher left, and Mike Vrabel, but that's neither here nor there. But Treylon Burks does add you well. Now, something that was added on YouTube, Marcus Eldon says, I'm not going to make excuses for the Commanders. It's time for someone to make a name for themselves. Absolutely right, dude. Kid Cowboy 66 says, it's go down. Who? I don't know what that means. And then David Clark says, it's like McCaffrey gets a 30-yard touchdown and never targeted for the rest of the game. And you're right.
That's true. That's true.
That's
it's unfortunate, but I mean, hey, you take the one, I'll take it,
You're absolutely right, Goody, and I will say this. It's a step up from last year, dude. You know what I'm saying, David? Because last year, he wasn't even targeted by Jaden. Even though he was doing all these great metrics in terms of separation off of the corners, still wasn't being targeted and being open. So at least he's getting a football and getting a touchdown off of it. That's a step in the right direction for this offense, okay? And then Straight Action says, Dak finna kick y'all ass. Yeah, whatever, dude. Whatever floats your boat, man.
Let's go, man. Let's go. He can light it up all he wants as long as that W's in our win column,
Oh, you are absolutely right, my friend. Now, the next question that was submitted, this one was on the Discord, and this was submitted last night. This is from Tim Towner. Goody. Name one player on D who will need to pick up their game if we are going to be able to slow down the number one offense in the league this year.
One player on D that's got to be able to pick up their game. I'm going to have to go with Javon Kinlaw. While everybody else is not playing at, their best, I feel like if you want to be a leader, if you want to get your team to turn on, then you got to take ownership. Somebody's got to make that happen. Obviously, Kinlaw brings a lot of energy. When he's in the game, running loose in the backfield before, the ball's being handed off, that whole trickle down from that push up the middle is just going to bring everybody to life. So I would say we need a big game from Kinlaw. Welcome him to that Dallas-Washington rivalry. He needs to have a big game. He needs to get in Dak's face a couple times.
You're absolutely right. And being able to collapse the pocket from the center of it, right? With Dak, he's very good at being able to extend the play, keep his eyes downfield. He doesn't get enough credit for what he does do in that regard. And so you got to create that bubble around him. And what's most important when you do create that bubble with the outside DNs being able to get behind Dak is you cannot have the open center lane, right? And that's what Javon Kinlaw could really help out and benefit this football team. If him, Deron Payne, Johnny Newton, and Eddie Goldman can really force that middle to collapse in, then maybe you're able to force a turnover here or there with Dak, which he at times is able to do and force things when he doesn't need to. And that's where Washington can really benefit in doing so. On defense, somebody needs to step up and have a big game is Trey Amos. You could make the argument Marshawn Lattimore, but I think you could say that every week about Marshawn Lattimore. You're going against a good wide receiver every week. But given that with CeeDee Lamb, I would imagine that they're going to be moving CD. They're going to be moving him all over the formation like they've done so many times before. And I think Trey Amos is going to be the one that they're going to be targeting. Marshawn Lattimore's statistics and metrics so far this season have been very good in coverage, and they've seen to target other guys. Mikey has been the bad kind of apple in that sort of sense, where they've kind of gone after him if it wasn't Marshawn or Trey Amos. So I think Trey Amos is going to be the one that they kind of go after with CD. So Trey Amos, if he's able to have that sticky coverage and be able to get after CD and not allow it to be easy and force him to go down another route, that's where Washington really will benefit in doing so. You got to be able to have some sort of suffocation in coverage this week to have a chance, because if you get in a shootout kind of mentality with Dallas, it's going to be a long day, especially defensively. Now, the next question.
I'm getting fired up, man. I'm getting fired up. Fired up.
Now, the next question from Deluxe. Who do you think Dallas will try to attack this week? Washington's run defense or pass defense?
Both. You're gonna go after both. Who are they gonna expect to get over on? Probably the secondary, just based off of the way we've been playing over the season so far. Most recent weeks. But this is a perfect chance to kind of, with our team knowing that that's the narrative out there, is kind of pump the brakes on that news line. Just show up. Shock the world if you have to, for lack of better words. But they're definitely gonna want to attack us. Through the air. Javonte Williams is not to be slept on by any means, because he could probably wreck this game single-handedly if he gets on a hot streak and has our defense playing on our heels instead of on our toes. So I would definitely say, again, the pressure up the middle, prevent the run game. They're going to want to attack us through the air. He's been throwing that thing across the field. So the more he puts it in the air, the more opportunities we have to turn it over. So, but they're definitely going to want to attack us through the air.
Yeah, I do think that. So Javonte Williams is one of my favorite guys to do a pre-draft film evaluation on when he was at North Carolina. He absolutely killed somebody on this one pass rep. I thought he killed the guy, dang near decapitated him. And I was like, my goodness, from a running back. And then obviously Travion Henderson was the other beneficiary of that kind of blocking ability. But with Javonte Williams, I think that is a matchup that goes in Washington's behalf this week, given with what Bobby Wagner does, right? Javonte Williams is not somebody that's going to shake you out of your boots. He's not somebody that's going to really burn you in the sense of yards gained. It's much more so that tough kind of mentality of running, which goes to the benefit of Washington in this sort of regard, where they're very good in between the tackles with running of the football. It's much more so when we get attacked on the perimeter is where we're at our weaknesses there. Just inability to come up, make tackles, and inability of linebackers to get over to those areas and set edges. And also the defensive ends bear some of that failure as well. But I think this sort of game is where it really benefits Washington going against somebody like Javonte Williams. So if anything, if I'm the head coach of Schottenheimer over there, you're attacking deep field. That's something Washington has been very bad at being able to do. I think there's going to be a lot of pick routes when we're in man coverage. I think the mesh concepts with the crossers attached is going to be something that, again, they're going to be trying to target early and often. And when we're in zone, you're going to be seeing that a lot as well, because Washington has not shown the ability to have the recipe for success against those kind of routes. It's been killing us all season long. And I just want to say credit to Goody for sitting there
holding
his phone up the whole time. It's remarkable, to say the least. But that's
the magnet came off the back as I sat down and got this situated. So whatever.
My man, you're the best. But if anything, I think they're going to be attacking us through the air. And Chicago did a very good job at being able to disguise their screens that they were doing. I think they kind of waited for Daron Payne to be out, because right now Daron Payne and Bobby Wagner are fantastic at sniffing out screens. And obviously, I don't think he was on the field for that one screen to DeAndre Swift in the tight end, where those were very well made. But Washington has shown a really good tendency to be good against screens. And so it's not something that scares me this week. It's much more so of having Ferguson, who is somebody you have to target. That's going to be the third down target. That's going to be somebody they're going to target in the red zone. They've done it every single week. You got to watch out for it. And hopefully Jeremy Reeves and company are able to step up to the task. But that's
I think that's where we're missing Will Harris. He was supposed to come in here to really kind of lock that specific duty position down, whether safety or up against the line as a nickel. Um, that's something that's losing Dietrich Wise too. But I mean, Will Harris was kind of supposed to be really a big part of the secondary, and as you could tell, we haven't been playing up to a likable standard by most. But that's something that's definitely underrated in my eyes is losing Will Harris there.
Yep, and that's why like I kind of came up with that mindset or the idea of using that kind of 3-4 with Bobby and Frankie at outside linebacker and having McGee and Marshawn Lattimore being able to match up on a Ferguson, because that seems to be something that could be targeted heavily and often, especially with running backs. So that's a kind of defensive mentality you can have to add more weight in the middle, but also adding some weapons in the secondary perimeter to be able to nullify any passing attack coming off of that, if that makes any sense. Just to be able to
Yep.
offer you some more coverage ability. Now, Cowboys on YouTube says, every time y'all ask for Dallas, y'all get smashed. Are you sure about that? Every time? Every time we've wanted
Nah,
Dallas? I don't think so. I think at the birth of that,
nah.
I think we won that one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, no, they do their statistics a little different. They remember sparingly, but we've been bringing it to them, man. We've been bringing it to them. I know we got them last year, the year before. They don't sweep us. We don't get swept by Dallas. It never
No,
goes down like that.
no, it
But you
doesn't.
definitely want to take that first one. You want
And
to take that first.
I will say we probably have the best coaching staff to go against Dallas, if we're just being honest. And you could say that there was a very good game and matchup last season for both of those, and they absolutely was. We should have won both because of a missed extra point. Which look, nobody's making excuses, but I'm just saying it's no walk in the park here. Washington is very much ready for this opportunity. And look, man, we always want to play you guys. It's what Washington is about. It's like one of the things that
Yeah,
are like a birthright as a Washington fan is that you get excited, you're ready for Dallas. You're not scared of them. You're excited to go up against them and hopefully be able to get one out. Now,
yep.
the next thing that was submitted, this is David Clark. We must go down deep to lane, even if it just keeps Dallas weary of the danger. We can't have them able to shorten the field, making it easier to defend like the Bears did last week. I would agree to you. Jalen Lane's route on that one pass play was absolutely amazing. He just completely fooled Tyreek Stevenson with the stutter step as he's running the go route, which made him dang near fall down and able to stretch that. It looked like it was a cover two, and Jaden just feeds that ball in right before the safety gets there. That's going to be without Trayvon Diggs this week. You're going to have to do that, and you're going to have to be able to force those safeties to come up and be able to get them out of position. You know what I mean? Now, the next question was submitted. This one was in the Discord. Goody. Deluxe says silver linings. Veterans of wide receiver being out gives opportunity to young wide receivers. What are some pros and cons to the sink or swim situation facing the young wide receivers?
Yeah, it's definitely a silver lining. Hey, I hear this all the time. A lot of people got their careers off to a launch by somebody else's misfortune, by somebody not being there, by somebody not doing the right thing and being replaced. Right. In this case, the guys in front of them are all injured, so this gives them the opportunity to get on the field and be taken as if they need to be a part of that to get the victory, to be a part of this game, to make an impact on this game. So as any athlete competitor is, naturally you're thinking like, all right, it's on my back. I got to bring it. And if you hear it often, you don't want to give that person their job back. So you're gonna go out and want to perform and just bring it home for the team. Um, there's gonna be a lot of experience in this. The guys have been playing all season, sparingly, right? So it's not like they're just being thrown into the water. Um, they've been building up to this. So let's see what they can carry on their backs. They got veterans on the field. You got Jaden Daniels. You got Zach Ertz. Um, all you got to do is just go out and do your job. And, these guys got a lot of talent. The offense is schemed up, and Jaden's gonna find you. So they're gonna have a big game. Wide receiver's gonna have a big game.
You're absolutely right. Because technically, Arch, it's not a sink or swim kind of situation. Because we kind of elaborated on it earlier, saying that they've been kind of massaged in, especially Luke McCaffrey has had enough time to kind of develop into a wide receiver after switching positions from quarterback in college, right? So that time is really over for him. It's not really a sink or swim moment for him. And with Jalen Lane, he's been utilized already early on in the season and just being able to create matchups. You saw him on that 3rd and 16 against LA, right? Obviously, he's not heavily targeted a lot, but he's somebody who has seen time. Obviously, playing in a full game is completely different. I get that. But these are also football players that they want to play the full game. And the pros are this is a big plate of food out there for you, so it's time to see who's hungry or not. Who wants a good cooked meal, and that's where it's in Dallas. You're going to have the opportunity to do so. The con is that stupid frickin' window at Dallas that allows at 4:30 that perfect sunlight to come in and blind you. Are our young wide receivers, are they going to make an excuse out of that, or are they going to have something in their back pocket to be able to help them in those sort of situations? That's something where a young wide receiver that is not very experienced in the NFL, kind of overcoming issues, that's something that could come arise. But for the most part, this is about coming up, making a play. And with Treylon Burks, it's very similar to the signing of Drake Jackson, where it's low risk, high reward, former first-round pick. There could be a lot left in the tank. Let's take a gamble on it, and it's a smart gamble. You don't have to give anything away for it. So that's something I'm very excited about for the future-wise, of course. But I'm most likely we're going to be seeing something like Robbie Chosen, but I wouldn't be surprised to see that we're in a lot of running tight ends this week, and we're going to do the ground and pound and then using the play action off of that to hit them deep. Just my personal opinion, and hopefully adding Sam Cosmi will kind of be able to help that. Now, Shannon says, the Commanders are trash. Cowboys finna put belt to ass. They, just like the Cowboy fan way, man. That's what you guys like doing to each other. I'm not here to judge, though. You can ask that. You can think that all you want, but it's typically not the case against Washington. We do usually put up a pretty good damn fight, to be perfectly honest with you. So, Goody,
sure.
Let's do some predictions real quick. Unsung hero for the game.
Unsung hero for the game against Dallas. 4:00, 4:30 tomorrow, Sunday. Let's see who we got. I'm gonna go with Trey Amos.
All right.
I'm gonna go with Trey Amos. Yep.
All right.
I feel like
a little bit of an easy one, but you got it. You got it. I'll let you cook.
Like you said before, having CD back, having George Pickens on fire right now, Ferguson, they have a lot of receiving targets, so they're going to be throwing that ball in the air. If you can lock down your receiver, you're pretty much, doing your job, right? So I feel like he's going to get a high volume, and I think he's going to show up, and he's going to really be like a welcome to the NFL for him.
No, you're absolutely right. That's a good one. Fantastic one, to say the least. I'll say somebody like Jeremy McNichols or Chris Rodriguez, I think, are really going to be the unsung heroes in this game. It seems like they're that one-off, one-on, one-off kind of issue with the running backs, and I think that Jeremy McNichols or Chris Rodriguez could be that type. Coming into this game, Dallas is obviously 29th in the NFL in rushing yards allowed. And Washington coming in this game, we are second overall in rushing yards per game. So the game plan for Washington is going to be able to keep Dallas's offense off the field. Can you run the ball effectively, efficiently? As a team, can you average more than 4 yards per carry? That's going to be the big indicator. You don't want Jaden to be your leading rusher again for this game in particular. You want the running game to be productive and good. If not, you're putting yourself in a bad way. Control the time of possession. Keep that offense on the sideline. Let our defense rest up and be able to come up with a good game plan going against their offense the next time out. So I think that Chris Rodriguez, Jeremy McNichols, those are my two candidates for it.
I like it. Give Sam Cosmi a lot to work with. First day back.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Now,
let's go.
Score prediction.
I feel like this is for Washington. It's going to be 33. For Dallas, I'm going to say 24.
I got you. Shannon, I do have to ask you, who are you a fan of then? If you're not a Cowboys fan, which I'm sorry, what I said wasn't incorrect in what Cowboys fans like to do. I was incorrect in labeling you a Cowboys fan. I just figured since you were here, you know what I mean? But I appreciate you for listening. I hope you are open to getting back and forth with it a little bit, but I do want to know who you're a fan of. If you say the Eagles, I'm not shocked. But I appreciate you for being here, dude, and just chiming in. David Clark says Dallas have a kicker who can score from 65 yards. So if it's close in the second half, we must go on fourth downs. That's actually a really good point, David. Dallas is very comfortable with their kicker, and our bend but don't break defense has been an issue of being able to get off the field at important times. And you can't have it being a kind of close game at the end of this game, giving the ball back to Dallas. So to your point, you're absolutely right. We got to
that's one of those superpowers. That's one of those superpowers.
Yep.
You know?
And that's what Washington has to get back to. You kind of talked about it with the defense and get back to what you're doing last year. Well, let's get back to doing it on fourth down again. We showed some massive cojones last season at being able to go for it in some very tough situations, but that helped out Washington in the end, grinding that time of possession, extending drives, keeping their offense off the field, and that's going to be MO number one. Oh, Shannon, you're a Bears fan? Oh, I should have guessed it, man.
Come on.
I should have guessed it. But my score prediction congratulations, by the way, Shannon. You guys deserve to win that football game, dude. It was phenomenal, and I'm glad that the rivalry with the Bears is cooking up. It's not something that any of us really expected coming out of that draft, that a rivalry would really form out of it. But I'm very excited for it. I hope they continue to schedule guys against us because us basketball guys, we're not that bad. You know what I mean? Cheers. So my score prediction for this game, I do think Washington wins. Just given the history of the coaching staffs, and obviously the offense is kind of slightly different, obviously adding with George Pickens with the new coaching staff and offensively. But defensively, Washington is very familiar. So I will say that Washington has the on and up on them. We typically play better against Dallas in Dallas. It's when they come to Washington is when we kind of falter. So I'll say that Washington wins 34-30. I think that we are going to be able to do the ground and pound, be able to run the ball down their throats in multiple ways. And that's not something that Jerry, I hope at the end of this game, Jerry is frowning in the press box. Because typically whenever Washington wins against somebody's getting fired. And so we'll see who that person's going to be on Dallas next week. Cheers, everybody.
Fireworks.
You've made it this far. You're a frickin' champion. I can't thank you guys enough to be able to join us a little bit here. Real quick, Dante says the Bears barely beat a team with backups. Dante, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. All right? You're not wrong. All I'm saying is we can't really say that because we kind of did that last year. And so give the hat
tip. You gotta live with it. Just gotta live with it.
Absolutely.
You know? Just gotta live with it.
Absolutely. And then Shannon says how last year went, and after we lost 9 straight after loss to you guys was the turning point in the season. I could have told you that. We absolutely crushed your souls last season, and anybody could have seen that Chicago really, really wanted that game. I mean, you guys scheduled your bye week to be before you played us for a reason, right? Like, come on now. Like, we all know what's going on there. Like, you're not fooling anybody, my friend. That game was circle chain. You're absolutely right. And then Dak is 6-0 against the Commanders at home. You're absolutely right, David. You're absolutely right. But Dak has only played this Commanders team without Dan Quinn, without Bobby Wagner, without Jaden Daniels. So we'll see how that pans out tomorrow, my friend. You know what I'm saying? Dang, David, you're coming with the stats. All right, everybody, you made it this far. You're a frickin' champion. I can't thank you enough if you have watched this and contributed. And I can't thank Goody enough for being able to answer me a little bit and sitting in his car the whole time. I hope you had your AC going.
Yeah, we're good, man. We're good. I was just taking a drive. But yeah, no worries. I'm at a rest stop. The sun is shining, as you can tell.
My goodness, dude.
But what happened was my magnet that's on my mount just fell off my new case as soon as I started this thing. So I would have been a little bit more comfortable, but we make it happen. We pulled it out.
Goody, you should have told me that, dude. I don't want you to sit at a rest stop for an hour. My goodness, dude. I would have let you go.
We're good. We're good, man. We're good.
Oh, you are a freaking champion, Goody. I can't thank you enough for coming through in the clutch for me. I know Anthony was supposed to come, but his kids are giving him a rough time. And so
I know how that goes.
you got to be dad first, man. You got to be dad first. And I respect Anthony so much for it. All right, guys. We'll see you again on Monday to be able to recap the Washington's win against Dallas. Sorry, Shannon. But I hope you guys enjoy the game. Enjoy your weekend. Looking excited for church tomorrow. Hope you guys are able to do so. Goody, I can't thank you enough, man. And I hope you safe travels wherever you get to. Please be smart, be safe, stay hydrated, and be able to get to your destination safely. Please let me know when you do, by the way.
For sure.
All right, everybody. We'll see you again on Monday. I'm Kyle.
Goody.
And we'll see you guys on Monday. Washington football. Woo! What's up, everyone? This is Kyle from the Burgundy Zone. We are releasing our own merch to support the show. If you want to rock the Burgundy Zone logo or you want to see Reed's face on your shirt, we got it. We're starting with t-shirts, hoodies, and zip-up. So if you're a fan of the show, make sure you snag one before they are gone. Check out the link in our bio on Instagram, or you can find the link in the description of the video. Thanks again for all your support. Until next time.